Welcome back to Open Window Politics. Today we're going to be doing a prediction between Pete Buttigieg, the former Secretary of Transportation in the Biden administration, versus the current Vice President of the U.S., J.D. Vance. He's been floated as the most likely Republican contender for the 2028 presidential Republican primary in 2028. Buttigieg is less so regarded as the most likely to win, of course, the Democratic Party's primary, but he has been floated as a potential option. So this isn't necessarily a prediction. Either of them will win their respective parties' primaries. Just fun to do a general election prediction. So I will start out in Nevada. But I know I say it at the end of every video, but please, I would appreciate it if you subscribed. Always helps the channel. So I'll start out in Nevada. Going to give that, going to add a tilt rating. Nevada, I think, will be one of the easier states for Democrats to flip back as far as states that they lost in 2024. Trump even lost Nevada in 2016 when he, of course, won the presidency. But Nevada went to Trump, well, it went to Biden in 2020, and then went to Trump in 2024. And we saw some key voting demographics shift in favor of Trump and Republicans in general. We've seen many of those trends scale back as key voting demographic groups start to sour on the Republican Party and Trump. We've seen in virtually every special election, including the recent one in Texas, where it's given indications of a good election year for Democrats during the midterms. And we are, of course, quite a ways out until 2028. But just if doing this prediction, if the election were to be held today, so Nevada, I would put into the tilt blue column for Pete Buttigieg. And then we get to Arizona. I think I'm going to actually put that into the tilt blue column. Pete Buttigieg has definitely tried to portray himself as more of a moderate. He's gone on Fox News on a couple occasions and tried to appeal to a broad array of voters. And it's up to you if you think this is working, but I do think he would be a fairly good option for Democrats to put forward. He's tried to portray himself as more of a moderate, and I think it seems sincere and will help him should he go to a general election against J.D. Vance. And then we're going to go to the district here in Omaha. I'm going to put it into the the lean blue rating. This district went to Harris in 2024, and that was definitely a bad election year for Democrats, so it is not too surprising that it would remain in the Democratic column in 2028. Right now, well, it went to Harris, if I remember correctly, by about 3 to 5 points ballpark. So not too crazy to predict that it would end up further in the Democratic Party's column. Not by too big of a margin, but still an improvement, I would predict. And that's going to be one more vote for Pete Buttigieg. And then we're going to get to the district, we already did the district. We'll start with Georgia. Georgia, I think, is also either the second or third most likely swing state to flip back to Democrats in 2028. We'll get to the other potential option later on. But Georgia, we've seen some good elections for Democrats in 2025 that proved that the state is definitely willing to elect Democrats on the statewide level. And both the states of Georgia and North Carolina have Senate elections in 2026 that will give us an indication of which way the state at large is leaning. And things could change between 26 and 28, but the midterms can always give an indication of which way the country is leaning. And then as far as North Carolina goes, I don't feel quite as confident that Buttigieg would win North Carolina. I'm going to put the state of North Carolina into J.D. Vance's column. So that brings J.D. Vance to 235, to Pete Buttigieg's 259, and then we'll start out in Wisconsin. So Wisconsin is the state that I was hinting at earlier that would most likely end up in the Democratic Party's column, probably the second or third, with Nevada being the most likely state to go blue in 2020, of the swing states to vote blue in 2028. And then Michigan, if I remember correctly, Pete Buttigieg he was a prior mayor of South Bend, Indiana. But if I remember correctly, I think he lives in Michigan now, so I think that would be benefiting factor. And then as far as Pennsylvania goes, I think Pennsylvania is probably J.D. Vance's and Republicans in general's best chance at winning a swing state. Honestly, I could very easily see all three of these states vote blue, but I do think Pennsylvania is J.D. Vance's best hope at winning a Rust Belt state. Even if we could do a hypothetical, so if Pete Buttigieg were to win, it would bring us to win Pennsylvania, it'd be 303 to 235. So even if Pete Buttigieg loses Pennsylvania, he would still be at 284. And he could, in this hypothetical, even be able to lose Wisconsin and still win the presidency. So, but as far as the final prediction goes, I'm going to throw the state of Wisconsin back into Pete Buttigieg's column, and that brings us to 284 to 254. Feel free to like